It's happening. Canadian visitors, once the bedrock of Florida's winter economy, are pulling away, and the financial cracks are already showing. This matters now because decisions made in Ottawa, Washington, or Tallahassee aren't just political. They're reshaping where people spend their winters, what local businesses survive, and even which neighborhoods thrive. If you think tourism is just about flights and sunshine, think again. This exodus hits far deeper. In this video, we will understand exactly why Florida's future depends more than ever on whether it can win back Canadians. We'll explore what went wrong, what's being lost, and what might save the day. Before we begin, if you care about travel, economies, or just getting the full story, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. Let's dive in. Florida long believed it was self-sufficient. Sun, beaches, retirees, tourism. Canadians, especially snowbirds, made their winters there for decades. But what if that dependency was bigger than anyone admitted? What if today, Florida is learning a harsh lesson that you can't ignore your most loyal visitors without paying a steep price? In simple terms, Florida's economic engine counted on Canadian snowbirds and visitors. Now those visitors are staying home, and the fallout is hitting tourism, real estate, local businesses, and jobs. Here are two quick examples. In the second quarter of 2025, Florida welcomed approximately 640,000 Canadian visitors, a drop of about 20% compared to the same period in 2024. Advance flight bookings from Canada to the US, including Florida routes for April to September 2025, are down over 70% year over year. These are not small blips, they are warning signs. Let's break this down in several major areas. 1. Sharp decline in Canadian visits and bookings. Canadian travel to Florida has seen a sharp downturn in 2025. In the second quarter alone, visits from Canadians fell by about 20% compared to 2024, according to WLRN. This decline is part of a broader trend, as overall Canadian travel to the US has been falling for 6 consecutive months, with some states experiencing drops of 30% or more. Florida is among the hardest hit, facing not only fewer visitors but also a steep decrease in advance bookings. Aviation analytics data highlights significant reductions in seat capacity, route schedules, and direct flights between Canada and Florida, as reported by PolitiFact and Axios. 2. Political tension, tariffs, and perception. Rising political tensions are also playing a role in the decline. The US has imposed new tariffs on Canadian goods, which many Canadians see as unfriendly or even hostile, fueling a sense that their country is being taken for granted. At the same time, provocative remarks from US political leaders, such as suggesting Canada could become the 51st state or mocking its leadership, have stirred resentment, with many Canadians viewing these comments as dismissive rather than humorous. 3rd, economic losses for Florida. With fewer Canadians spending money in Florida, losses cascade. Hotel bookings down, short-term rentals empty, restaurants slower, local services suffer. Anecdotal reports that the impact extends to jobs as service workers, seasonal employees, those who clean, cook, drive, are among the first to feel the squeeze. With winter being a key season, less traffic means fewer hours, sometimes layoffs. 4. Real estate decline and snowbird sales. Canadian interest in buying US homes via platforms like Redfin has dropped significantly. In Florida, hotspots like Tampa, Orlando, West Palm Beach, search interest fell between 20 to 27% year over year. Some Canadian snowbirds who owned condos or seasonal homes are listing them now. For many, the cost of ownership, insurance, taxes, combined with feeling unwelcome, tips the decision toward selling. There are multiple reports of real estate agents with large portfolios of Canadian-owned properties now for sale and very few Canadian buyers stepping in. 5. shift to other destinations and domestic alternatives. Canadians are choosing Mexico, the Caribbean, Europe, or even staying within Canada instead of Florida. This is reshaping travel flows. At the same time, domestic tourism inside Canada is strengthening. As political, economic, and perception-related risks make vacationing closer to home more appealing, the picture isn't entirely negative, as several counterpoints complicate the narrative. Tourism overall is still rising in Florida. While Canadian numbers drop, visitors from elsewhere, other US states, overseas nations like Brazil, are increasing. Florida is trying to shift its marketing to make up for Canadian shortfalls. Some officials argue the drop is seasonal or temporary, tied to post-pandemic patterns, currency shifts, or insurance and tax changes, rather than lasting hostility. Florida's economy is large and diversified: tourism, agriculture, trade, tech. While snowbirds contribute a lot, the state has other sources of revenue, which gives some buffer. But here's the issue: the combination of political tension, persistent decline in bookings, and real estate selling suggests something deeper than just a blip. Why is this shift more than just a local problem for Florida? Because there are three main reasons. Firstly, international perceptions matter. If Canadians, who were once among US tourism's most reliable customers, feel disrespected, decisions by US policymakers ripple beyond Florida, impacting national tourism statistics. Secondly, economic interdependence. The border between Canada and the US isn't just political, it's economic, social, familial, cross-border spending, visits, family travel. When that drops, businesses in both countries feel it. And lastly, changing consumer behavior. Travelers are more sensitive to values, politics, respect. When visitors feel unwelcome, they choose alternatives, and shaken loyalty can take years to rebuild. Part of what's accelerating this shift are regulatory, policy or rule changes, actual or perceived, that are making Florida and broadly US travel less appealing for Canadians. New tariffs on Canadian imports have raised business and consumer costs, feeding into negative travel sentiment. Immigration policies and border rhetoric, such as talk of Canada becoming the 51st state or stricter enforcement, are often seen as personal insults rather than politics. On top of this, rising expenses from currency rates, taxes, insurance, and property upkeep make long stays or winter ownership costlier, and when paired with political discomfort, the deterrent grows stronger. These aren't small details. They shape decisions: stay or go, buy or sell, return or not. Let's look at what's at stake, what's been lost, what might be lost, what impact is rippling outward. The economic and social impacts of declining Canadian travel to Florida are significant. Socially, many Canadians once treated Florida as a second home, building seasonal traditions, community ties, and friendships. When they stop coming, or sell long-held properties, like one couple who left Naples after 17 years, those connections weaken. Local businesses that relied on repeat Canadian customers, from restaurants and salons to event planners, are losing clientele, leaving neighborhoods quieter and winter culture diminished. Economically, the 20% drop in Q2 visitors translates into billions lost across hotels, dining, groceries, entertainment, and property spending, with estimates suggesting even a 10% decline in Canadian travel means $2.1 billion and 14,000 US jobs at risk, much of that in Florida. Real estate markets are slowing, with fewer Canadian buyers depressing values, reducing tax revenues, and leaving developments less maintained. Secondary industries, from seasonal workers to contractors and service providers, also feel the strain, while counties and cities see declines in sales and hotel tax revenue tied to winter occupancy. So, what can be done to address these challenges? Here are some practical takeaways and advice for each group involved. Florida's policymakers and business owners need to start by repairing relationships, listening to concerns about respect, politics, and feeling unwelcome, and responding with more inclusive rhetoric or even public apologies. They should also refresh marketing, investing in campaigns to rebuild trust instead of relying on past goodwill. Financial incentives such as tax breaks, property tax relief, or benefits for Canadian homeowners could encourage long-term ties, while direct engagement with Canadian media and leaders would show that Florida sees Canadians as valued partners, not just customers. For local businesses and communities, diversifying the customer base beyond Canadians toward Latin America, Europe, or South America is essential. At the same time, they can strengthen ties with Canadians by offering flexible rental terms, fair cancellation policies, respectful customer service, and partnerships with Canadian airlines or travel agents that provide bundled deals and cultural touches like bilingual signage. For Canadians and other travelers, the best approach is to stay proactive, speaking up when feeling unwelcome, whether to tourist boards, property managers, or officials, helps highlight issues. Travelers should also reassess costs realistically, weighing expenses, maintenance, health, and politics before investing in seasonal homes. And if needed, they can explore alternatives such as shorter visits, different destinations, or domestic travel, which may offer greater comfort, security, and value. Florida thought it didn't need Canada. Now the empty cafes and for sale signs say otherwise. This isn't just about tourism, it's about respect and loyalty. Lose that and you lose the future. Do you think Florida can win Canadians back? Or is it too late? Share your thoughts and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.